Hi and welcome to the Lightleaders, a podcast for lightworkers and conscious entrepreneurs who are passionate about raising the consciousness of our planet and take action to make it happen. I'm your host, Alexis Lember, and I believe that we are currently in the middle of a global awakening of humanity, that right now is the time for heart-centered conscious people to step into our power so we can replace the old paradigm and bring the conscious new earth into manifestation. So here, I'll interview a variety of people who lead this movement of creating this new earth, whether they do it through a meditation course, a conscious podcast, or an ethical cryptocurrency. I call them Lightleaders. If you resonate with our mission, please help us spread the message by sharing this podcast. We're having more and more content getting censored, so we need your help. Make sure to stay in touch also by registering to our newsletter on thelightleaders.org. If you hear little nuggets you love and you'd like to share, screenshot this episode and share on your Instagram stories, make sure to tag us at the Lightleaders podcast and we will repost. Do you know what is probably the most valuable resource in the modern world? It's your data. Companies like Facebook, Apple, or Google, they're worth hundreds of billions of dollars because they spy on you 24/7, collect everything they can about you, and sell your data to advertisers. They also use this data against you to get you addicted to their platforms, so you spend more time on your screen and more to censor certain opinions and whistleblowers. Now, what to do? Well, I always prefer to look at solutions. And there is a phone that runs on its own operating system that is based on encrypted blockchain technology, not Google or Apple. It's called the Clear Phone. With the Clear Phone, you own your data and choose what you want to share with apps and service providers and potentially be rewarded financially for agreeing to share your data. To learn more, visit thelightleaders.org/clearphone, and you can also become a brand ambassador for them like I am. Hi, and welcome to this new episode of The Lightleaders. Today I'm with Dex, who is a regenerative detoxification specialist, clinical iridologist, and acupuncturist. He comes from a small town high in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, where he grew up in a community environment very aligned with nature and organic living. But after his post-university years of getting sucked into the matrix, living the corporate lifestyle in big cities around the US, he became very toxic in his body, mind, and soul and was diagnosed with a non-curable autoimmune disease and clinical depression. Turning down the traditional Western medical allopathic approach to take this pill for the rest of your miserable life, he dove deep into the world of natural healing and detox, studying regenerative detoxification, iridology, and herbs under Dr. Robert Morse and various other modalities along the way in order to reverse his autoimmune disease and heal himself with the simple and magical tools of Mother Nature and divine energy of Great Spirit. Today, his passion lies in sharing his experience with others, helping them dive deeper into the understanding of their physical bodies by addressing underlying weaknesses and reversing chronic illnesses in order to come out of a state of disease and return to a state of homeostasis and true vitality. Welcome to the show, Dex. Yeah, and I'm really excited to have you because you're also personally advising me. You've done my iridology reading and been giving me a kind of a plan, detox plan, and herbs, and we can go into that.
Excellent.
My first question to you, Dex, is what are you grateful for today?
What am I grateful for today? I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for being alive in such crazy times and in that health and just finding peace in the madness of the world sometimes and the ability just to come back to body and be in this temple and find positivities and then share that with others, the community here in Ubud and Bali and the family I'm creating between my actual family and friends and and Bali. Like, come on, right?
Yeah, Bali's pretty good. Thank you, Mama Bali.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd love you to share with your own words also what's your greater why and how your activities help to create that.
Yeah. I think my greater why, my sole purpose, life's mission per se, that's landed in me over the last 5 years is witnessing so much imbalance and toxicity in the world, and how, yeah, just how out of balance we as humans have become in our bodies, minds, emotions, the mental body, energetic bodies, disconnected from Mother Nature. I believe it's our right, the natural law that every human should be able to live in a state of health and with vitality and happiness. And traveling around the world and living in America, being in the corporate world, seeing the exact opposite of that and just a furthering away from Mother Nature. It's my passion to help people just to return to simplicity and come back to a state of balance in their bodies and clear themselves from disease, chronic illness, pains, depression, and jump more into their physical, mental, emotional, and energetic bodies, and sharing my experience and tool set to help people achieve that. The simple stuff. It's like keeping it super simple. Yeah.
And so how do you do that more concretely? You advise people?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's their own healer, right? So it's providing education, diagnostics through iridology or traditional Chinese medicine. I just took on acupuncture in the last year. So different diagnostic tools through iridology, you get to look into, it's like a map into the body, into the lymphatic system, and to see where you have cellular weakness. And it's not a direct diagnosis per se, but it gives you an understanding of like where you can improve upon, where you can remove lymphatic waste and improve your body at a cellular level. So starting off there, or health questionnaire, sitting with people, understanding what challenges they're facing, pains in their bodies, whether it's digestively or in any area, and then putting together a plan that works, like meeting people where they're at too. I mean, we're all busy in our lives, and a lot of us have done our work to clean our bodies, but maybe not knowing exactly how to get to the end of that or to incorporate an overall plan holistically to achieve homeostasis. Yeah. Balance. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Let's start with iridology.
Okay.
Can you share a bit more about how it works?
Absolutely. So the eye is the window to the soul, as it said, but in iridology, it's a map to the body, right? And the science behind it, it's been around for a couple hundred years. The science behind it is that there's millions of microscopic blood vessels, nerve endings from the back of your iris through your central nervous system out to every soft tissue of the body. So when you have a weakness in that soft tissue, eventually it shows up as a weakness in the iris, and every part of that body is mapped up within the iris. So everything is symmetrical to your right eye, representing everything on your right side of your body, left side of the body. And depending on coloration, and we could get into the technicals of everything, but basically different shapes, different rings, you can see sulfur chemical buildup in the eye. You can see skin problems, digestive problems, endocrine gland problems, skeletal, muscular, everything.
Yeah, for example, for me, I remember it could be a dot somewhere in the eye, and that means probably some heavy metal in the pancreas. I don't remember what.
Yeah, exactly. I think you had something up in the thyroid area too, and then the nerve rings, like when you have compromisation of your adrenal glands in your autonomic nervous system, the rest and digest, fight or flight, then it shows in the eye. And so, yeah, it's not going to say that you have chronic fatigue syndrome per se, but it's going to say you have an underlying weakness in the adrenal glands. Let's go there and support it through detoxing, fasting, and herbs to support. So, yeah.
And my understanding is that it's more complete in a way than blood samples because it uses the map of the lymphatic system too.
Exactly. And a lot of times in Western medicine, allopathic approach, they focus on the blood only.
What do you mean by allopathic?
So allopathic, just Western medicine, like traditional diagnostic prescription, surgery, right? Versus a more solution-based approach and the holistic approach, right? Instead of seeing a symptom and prescribing a pill.
Treat the cause instead of you try to treat the cause, not just the symptom.
Yeah, exactly. Get to the underlying root of where's the imbalance of the body, right? The body's a magical tool. So if we can go to the root of it, then we can address that and reverse the condition. And that's what I work in, is regenerative detoxification. Not just detox clean, but like getting to cellular buildup, and being able to strengthen tissues, glands, organs, and systems. Yeah.
And so can you speak a bit more about how the iridology also looks into the lymphatic system and why it's important?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, is the lymphatic system. And so the lymphatic system is your body's sewer system, right? And where the blood you can think of as like the kitchen to the body, feeding the cells all its nutrients, preparing everything, getting the cells ready to go, and then the cells feeding the glands feeding the organs. But we look at the body, we have two types of elimination. We have digestive elimination, right, which comes out through our stool and our colon. We eat, and then we eliminate. But the body is comprised of 70 trillion cells plus, right? And so every single cell is constantly eating too, and then it's eliminating as well. And that's dealt with the lymphatic system. But the elimination channels for the lymphatic system are through the three kidneys, right? Through your left and right kidney and your skin, being the largest eliminative organ in the body. And I think a big thing that Western medicine misses out on is that they say that the lymphatic system dumps back into the blood. Studying under Dr. Robert Morris and through my own experience, that the lymphatic system actually goes out through the kidneys, right? But with this society and a culture that is eating incorrect foods that's full of toxins, overstimulating, high stress work environments, our kidneys begin, and like high protein diets, it's a big fad, that our kidneys begin to underfunction. I'll get back to iridology in a minute, but so we're not properly eliminating out all that cellular waste, and that begins to back up into our lymphatic system. And that being the sewer system of the body, you have your lymph fluid, your lymph vessels, and your lymph nodes, right? So if your kidneys aren't filtering, then you're constantly backing up over time, and your lymph nodes are getting swollen, and you're not sweating properly, you're not urinating out lymphatic waste, then you start to see these weaknesses in thousands of forms of fashion, from acne, from pain in the joints to headaches, and then over time growing into more progressive illnesses, rheumatoid arthritis, cancers, tumors, right? And if you look at the allopathic Western medical approaches, if you have a swollen lymph node, they'll go in there and cut that out, right? That's the thing. Either give a pill to reduce the symptoms for a temporary time or to remove it. And it's like going into your house and removing your septic tank, but then never having something to deal with that waste. So it just backs up in the body elsewhere. So I think this disconnection from the lymphatic system, like the understanding of the lymphatic system, is where a lot of Western medicine gets things wrong, and they don't get to the root cause. And through regenerative detoxification and really focusing on adrenal function, because the adrenals sit on top of both kidneys, boosting adrenals, and then getting kidneys filtering over time, then you start removing this waste at the top down to a root level. And the beauty about iridology is you can see where that cellular buildup of acid and toxic waste is in the body. And where a blood test, like cholesterol, for example, the iris will show a thick cholesterol ring around the outer portion of the eye, where a blood test would say your cholesterol is fine, right? Or it can show under-functioning adrenal glands and therefore under-functioning kidneys, where your urine sample or your blood test won't show that, right? So, I mean, that's really like the essence and the magic of going deeper, because our body tells us everything we need. And I really truly believe the eyes tell all of that if you really know how to look at them. Yeah.
Yeah, super interesting. I've dived into it recently. Also learning that there are only two eye colors actually, blue and brown.
Yep. So in the theory of iridology, there's true blue and true brown, and anything in between, hazel, orange, yellow. Some eyes that you think are beautiful are actually either generationally or lifestyle weaknesses over time, right? For instance, I used to have a lot of orange in my eyes, and I used to get compliments on it. Coming to learn that that's sulfur and chemical buildup from pharmaceuticals or other drugs, right? And throughout my body, right? So
I was joking with you. We have a very different way to look at people than once you learn that, you look, oh, you have sulfur here.
Exactly. I think we joked about that, right?
Yeah,
When I got out of
yeah.
my course and I would meet people, I'd used to get lost in, I always get lost in beautiful green eyes and women and stuff. Or people in general, just beautiful eyes. I'm like, wow. But now it's like, oh, starting to diagnose them or like, it's, just look at some weaknesses. Yeah. But, yeah.
And actually on YouTube, there are some people, they map their journey from changing the color of their eyes.
Totally. Yeah. That's the beauty about it is like, okay.
Takes a few years, right? If you get back let's say you're meant to have blue eyes and maybe your eyes are brown, and then you go, we'll talk about the nutrition part in that system. It's mainly a lot raw vegan and fruits, and you do that for a few years maybe, and then your eyes become blue. And that's for people who are blue-eyed. And that's a thing that people are documenting.
Totally. I have series of, on my journey the last couple of years, I used to have brown eyes, and then they became hazel, and then the orange started to come out, right? And then the more I do deeper fast and go deeper into my body, I have a true blue eye, and you can see this in the back. And when I'm really vibrant, when I'm on a fast, when I'm on a water fast, people are like, wow, your eyes are blue, and then getting to see the progression over that. Like, Jory here, who does the moccasins. No, he makes moccasins here in Ubud, and he was 30 years raw, like completely raw, all fruit. And he used to have brown, and now he has the most vibrant blue eyes I've seen. So yeah.
Let's do another interview in 5 years and
see where we're at.
Shining blue eyes.
Both of us, right? Yeah.
I'm brown eyes.
You are brown. You are true brown. Yeah. But get rid of the sulfur and all that. Yeah.
Let's go a bit into the nutrition also.
Okay.
Obviously a rabbit hole, but without telling people what to eat, in the system of Dr. Morse, there's a lot around humans are meant to be mainly fruitarians, right?
Yeah, frugivores. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you look at, I mean, there's so many schools of thought around nutrition and what's best for the body, eating to your blood type, Ayurvedic with different energy types. And I think we kind of overcomplicate things. I mean, definitely, if you look at the human species, we're the only species that cooks our food. And we're most related to, as vertebrates, we're most related to frugivores. Between our teeth makeup, they say we have canines, but we don't truly have vicious canines to rip through meat. We have tools to pick, peel, and eat, which is closely related to what we're supposed to eat, which is fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds, right? So, and if you look at, the digestive tract, the spleen, everything, it's most related to primates, right? And we've drifted so far away from that. And yeah, we've had to survive over time in different geographical areas that can't provide that. So we learn to use fire and we learn to cook, right? But now what we cook and how we cook and what we use to cook, we've started to degenerate, I believe, as a species.
It's like if you were living in Siberia, sure, you needed to eat meat and cook, but is that totally what's optimal for you? And right.
Exactly. And so coming back, and it's all in balance, right? Because if we live in these environments, we can't always eat fruits and vegetables, but becoming out of balance and becoming sick over time, coming back to what I believe our bodies are intended for, which is a simple diet of fruits and vegetables, little nuts and seeds, then we're able to heal the best through that diet. And nutrition per se is, let's talk about the protein myth per se, right? A lot of people think proteins for fuel, but proteins are builders. Right? You get your fuel from carbohydrates. And the highest form of carbohydrate is fructose from fruits, fruit sugar, and glucose, vegetables, right? So that's how we supply our body with fuel.
Well, people who do keto diets, for example, they say also, well, I find my energy levels better and sometimes I think stronger running on ketones, for example.
Yeah, totally. And I think there's validity in the keto diet over a short period of time, but a high fat diet, it's because you're taking that fat and you're turning it from, I think, glycogen back into glucose, and that's where you get the energy, but it's very taxing on the body over time, the pancreas and liver, right? And you can get benefits from it because you're getting instant energy, right?
And can you share more about the proteins too? Because it's definitely in our culture, like the protein shake to go to the gym.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So protein in general, I mean, yeah, our body actually needs is not the protein itself, but the amino acids in which the protein structure is built upon. So if you look at a protein structure, it's this non-essential and essential amino acids wrapped in a myelin sheath. And we consume that into our body. The peptides in our stomach, hydrochloric acid, breaks down that myelin sheath and then takes the amino acids and then recreates new proteins for the body tissues, muscles, and all that. So essentially, if we're taking a secondary source, first of all, fruits and vegetables are filled with essential and non-essential amino acids at the core. If you look at the biggest animals in the world, right, gorillas, elephants, like all of them, they eat the raw source, plants, and that's all they eat, plants and vegetables, and they grow to be these big machines, right? So and as a society and like we'll call it like a muscle man society, right? That we think we need protein to build these structures, but we're putting more energy on our body, especially with meat proteins, to break down those structures, absorb those amino acids, and then use them throughout the body. And essentially, when we're eating animal protein, we're eating a secondary source. I mean, what are those animals eating? A cow eats nothing but grass. So they're building that huge muscle, that huge structure based on that simple amino acids, right? And then we take them and we create more work on our body to break those down and use those amino acids. So getting back to nature and getting back to simplicity, go into simple fruits and vegetables, right?
So getting back to nature, it's true, I've never seen an animal cook their food. And when it comes to eating meat, so if you take primates, I'm not a specialist, but I understand they eat mainly fruits and vegetables, but they'd also sometimes eat insects or maybe some meat too sometimes. So do you feel then that natural way incorporates a bit of meat, for example, in the diet?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first went on this journey, I was like absolutely pure plant-based, pure vegan. And I do think there's individual needs to get different nutrients or satiate maybe that primal need, right? And in different geographical locations. I don't know. Do I promote it? Not in a healing method, but maybe on a more sustainable lifetime. I mean, we are humans. Yeah. And we have to live a life too, geographically. And
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
yeah, it is tricky and it is a debate. But I think as far as healing and getting the body back into balance, I don't think there's room for it.
Yeah, that's something I've been considering for myself. At the moment, I'm like, really, maybe I do very little exception, but fully vegan.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, yeah, and now I'm working with you also, and I was thinking, yeah, maybe in 3-6 months I start having, some grass-fed organic meat once a week or every 2 weeks. And I don't know, it's hard to know exactly, but
yeah, and I think it's an intuitive process too. You have to go with what your body's telling you. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a few things also I'd love to dive into that have been that are part of the detox journey. One of it is the liver flush and getting the gallstones out of the liver flush, and the other one is mucoid plaques. And both of them are quite controversial. Like some people say they're total scams, and some people say they're amazing. For example, the gallstones is an interesting one. Is you drink certain things and then you poo green stones, and some people say, well, it's just bile created by all the oil you've been drinking the day before, and these are not the gallstones. And some people say, yeah, these are the gallstones.
Yeah, we can get into that. That's a big debate. So I think what kind of cure or like fights that debate is autopsies on bodies that haven't drinking the oil. So I mean, a typical liver flush is preparing your liver for 4 or 5 days and then drinking 8 ounces of olive oil mixed with 8 ounces of lemon, like a citrus juice. And it's very aggressive. And then it flushes out all the gallstones that are stored in the gallbladder and liver, right? That are essentially preventing your liver from functioning optimally. So the next day you release all these green stones, and there's things all over the internet, YouTube, debate after debate, breaking these things down and saying, no way. But autopsies have shown open livers and gallbladders filled with these things over time, right?
That look exactly like the things we
exactly the same. Yeah. And I mean, I've done quite a few and gotten hundreds of stones out, and some I just get a few stones. So if drinking the same amount of fluid, I just get a few stones, and then really getting in deeper and getting hundreds of stones out. Yeah.
That's a good point, because I've only done it twice.
Mm-hmm.
But people in the protocol, at least that book from Dr. Moritz, you do it every month until you don't have the stones anymore. So if it was the oil,
then you'd still have stones.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And mucoid plaques, similarly, there is something you drink. So can you share more about that? And let's say then that thing you drink, some people say, oh, it's just what you drank that got out of your body, versus the idea is to remove mucus that stays inside you.
Yeah. So just getting into what mucoid plaque is a buildup in the small intestine over time from eating incorrect foods, and then your body's inability to eliminate out through the colon in the walls of the intestines is estimated 2 to 7 kilograms of mucoid plaque.
Oh.
And, let's call that 5 to almost 15 pounds.
Do we have proofs of this in autopsies again?
Well, yeah, I mean, that comes back down to opening up bodies, right? And finding this, it's like a tar. It's a black tar built up over time. And your intestines are so paramount to what you absorb into the body. So we have like an epidemic of malabsorption because of mucoid plaque, right? So the debate in mucoid plaque is when doing fasting and detoxing, you drink a solution made of bentonite clay. I mean, there's different plasmas that you can drink, but one per se is psyllium husk, bentonite clay, activated charcoal, and flax seeds, right? I mean, that's what I do with some clients. Sometimes I'll take out the activated charcoal. And you do a flush with this, and it basically pulls from the intestinal wall out this black rope. And you can find videos on YouTube, people like playing with it after it comes out, and they're saying, I shared
the video in my Telegram group, and you literally like pull it out of your butt.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a rope. So the debate is, that's just the solution, the clay and the psyllium husk that's come out. Okay, maybe some of it is, but if you really get in there and through texture and smell, these are some stuff that's been in your body for years, and you can really smell it, right?
Following your protocol. So I've done that, and I'm also doing enemas and checking.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel the smell is like, well, that's old.
Old. Yeah, it's like the sulfur buildup, the chemical buildup in there comes out. You can really tell, right?
But what I'd say with mucoid plaques and what I drank is I don't think the whole kind of snake was inside me.
Yeah.
But I think the idea is that it collects a lot as it goes, right?
Totally. I think it's a mixture of both. And then you can look at people that have done prolonged water fasting, or myself per se, on a prolonged juice fast, 40 days. On day 36 of not consuming any foods, I'm getting out ropes of black tar. And I've had, other friends that have been on like day 76 of juice fast and go into like 3 days water, and they haven't had many bowel movements. And then all of a sudden this black snake, comes out. So
the long-sized one too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Half a meter.
You did 40-day water fast?
No, not 40-day water, 42 days. I don't know if I said water, sorry, but it was 42 days of juice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because here in Bali, there are so many people who do 40-day water fast. And actually, Sinclair and his brother. And I interviewed them in Australia 2 years ago about their 40-day water fast. And our good friend Yannick,
right?
Our good friend Yannick is doing that at the moment.
Yeah, he's on like day 25 or something. Going for it. Yeah. And that's the best place, Les, right? And Sinclair are big Dr. Morris boys too.
Yeah. Well, I think, to me, looking into it and having my own experience, it's pretty convincing. Then you can be skeptical about anything.
Totally. Yeah. I think it has to come through your own experience and really taking what other people have done too in their journeys. Yeah. And trusting in it. Right. Yeah. So, yeah. And I think, so getting into mucoid plaque and removing these things, the gallstones, the plaque in the body, and I mean, getting back to nature's way of healing is fasting. If you look at what does an animal do when it gets sick, it immediately stops consuming food, right? Maybe a little bit of water and nothing but rest. And it allows its body to do what it does, which is remove waste. But you look, 75% of energy is used to break down through the digestion process. So the more that we're putting in there, the more energy we're consuming. And then if our lymphatic system's not eliminating properly, it's just backing up constantly. We have like a tired, over-consuming, eat 3 meals, incorrect food combining a day. And now we have all these health issues, right? But like going back to simplicity, fasting, allowing the body to do the work. When you put a more simple input into your body, you require less energy, and then it turns that energy into cleaning. That's why on like day 4 of a fast, you just get hit with like huge levels.
Yeah. And that's why for someone like me, I was more looking at having all the superfoods and this and that. But if you don't absorb, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. And regenerative detoxification is focused around 4 things. Digestion. Are we properly digesting both the food that we're eating, but also what our cells are eating? Then are we absorbing that? Or are we too clogged up that it's not even getting through our small intestine to the cells? And then are we utilizing it? Are all the nutrients and vitamins, everything going to the cells in order to function properly? And then are we eliminating it? So 4 things: digestion, absorption, utilization, and elimination. Two channels of elimination, and just bringing those 4 aspects back into balance. And it takes time. You can hit it hard with the fast, but the journey really is finding something that works over a long time. I mean, we've spent our whole lives eating incorrectly or having incorrect inputs. So it takes time you're not going to fix that in a 7-day juice fast, you know?
Yeah, it might be unhealthy also if you're like eating at McDonald's every day, and then suddenly you're like, I want to get healthy and I go on a long fast.
Exactly.
You probably want to pave your way through it.
Totally. I think taking pace and like I said a little earlier, is meeting people where they're at, right? What is their current diet? What is their current lifestyle? Putting together optimal plans to get them to a more alkaline state and removing these wastes over time. Because it can be very dangerous to jump straight from meat eating, like hardcore meat eating, McDonald's diet, and do a 10-day juice fast, right? And what you experience is the body, you know, all these symptoms, headaches, fevers, rashes, all the body pushing out stuff it doesn't need. If you trust that process, and you can go for it. But I think finding a healthy balance and an approach over time, like what we put together for you. You wanted to maintain a workout style, not go too deep and not, you know, shrivel up and become skin and bones. Yeah. Like how do you maintain that? And then over time, let's work on those 4 aspects: absorption, liver, cleaning mucoid plaque, and having herbs to support you. So
plant-based food in Ubud doesn't make it easier to go on those fasts.
Yeah. You got a lot of temptation here, which is a curse and a blessing. Yeah.
Dex, we're approaching the end of this episode. Well, can you share a little bit more about maybe something you want to share quickly a bit more about? And also, how can people follow you and what's next for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the biggest thing is, for me, is creating balance and vitality in all the bodies: the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. My journey's been into the physical, and that's what I focus on the most. But everything works in harmony, right? So as you're going through healing, you really have to there's so many modalities that can approach any one of those bodies, right? But be aware and incorporate other things into your journey to tackle the mental side. We deal with a lot of depression, anxiety, and the emotional bodies, right? And then the spiritual bodies. And I mean, there's consciousness in everything. But right now, I think the biggest thing is, especially in these times with overtoxicity, whatever's going on in the world, is to keep our vessel. You know, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, but we live in this vessel and we have our feet on the earth. And if we can take care of this physical temple, then all the other bodies kind of follow suit, right? But don't neglect one or the other. You know, a lot of emotional stuff comes up when fasting, having a way to work with that. And I work with clients with that too, or bringing in another practitioner. it's a holistic thing. This is a holistic life, you know. It's all one creation. So I think it's very important to dive into the physical body per se, but have attention and care and hold yourself gently in that process as you warrior up, you know. Yeah, if you want to follow me, it's Dex Talks on Instagram, dex.talks. So the thing is Detox, but my name is Dex, and then also just doing discussions around different topics. So Dex Talks. Yeah, and going from here, I mean, continuing to expand on different modalities and work with different people, creating containers and environments and communities and where people can be educated and have support. And we're all going through this journey together. And so how can we come together in this time, especially like light leaders, right? And share knowledge and work on all those bodies and all those aspects and the financial realm and all of it and create a new earth, right? Yeah.
I'm excited to be on that journey with you, brother.
Absolutely, brother.
Thank
Me
you
too.
so much for sharing all that knowledge here.
My pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Do you have a last word for the listener?
Keep it simple. Love yourself. Yeah.
Thank you, Dex. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you for taking some of your precious time to listen to this podcast. If you stayed until the end, I assume it was insightful. So if you like this podcast, please share with friends. Remember that if you tag us in your Instagram story at the Lightleaders podcast, we will repost. Tell us what you've learned. You can also leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Now, if you want to stay posted about new podcast releases, especially as we get censored more and more on big tech platforms, make sure to join our newsletter and our Telegram. You'll find the links on thelightleaders.org. And feel free to contact me directly too, whether it's for feedback or potential collaborations. Thank you again, and let's co-create the conscious new earth together.